What's up, Taiwan? I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te is wrapping up his 6-day trip of the Pacific in Palau. It's one of Taiwan's few official diplomatic allies and a big advocate of Taiwan on the world stage. Rick Lauer reports from Palau on the friendship giving Taiwan diplomacy a new direction.
The latest milestone in a blossoming friendship. Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te welcomed by his counterpart on a state visit to Palau. It's Lai's last stop on a whirlwind diplomatic tour bolstering ties with Pacific Island nations. And he's here with a simple message. With a population of only 20,000, Palau is one of just 12 countries worldwide that has official diplomatic ties with Taipei. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and objects to recognition of its sovereignty by a state visit like this. In rare defiance of Beijing, Palau's leader, Surangel Whips Jr., says his country has been punished by China for its friendship with Taiwan, weaponizing tourism and illegally sending vessels into its waters to pressure Palau to cut ties with Taipei in favor of Beijing.
We want you to come and we want us to win together. As we navigate the complexities of international relations, the threats to democracy, and the threats to our sovereignty, now more than ever, we must partner. We must stand strong together.
Palau wants to be less reliant on China, currently its largest source of tourists and investment. Lai's delegation includes business leaders and is expected to bring new sources of investment for the country in tourism and green technologies. He's also sharing his country's knowledge of so-called digital democracy. Palau's Capitol building was built with the help of a $20 million loan from Taiwan. Now Taiwan, a world leader in high technology, is going to help to digitalize its legislature with online voting and better online security. While promising to help countries like Palau modernize, on his week-long trip, Lai has also emphasized their commonalities, highlighting ancient migration routes that link indigenous Taiwanese to Pacific Islanders and cultural traditions that they still share.
So I think this connection is has been here for a while and is working and in a very different way, and also reshaping Taiwanese identity and reshaping Taiwanese political imagination. So there is a slowly transition from focusing on China, and then we're now focusing on the island nations.
Although there are thousands of nautical miles between their island nations, Lai describes Palau's leader as a brother. The message from this pair is that despite Beijing's political protestations, this relationship is both timely and time-honored. John Su and Rick Lauer in Palau for TaiwanPlus.
For more on Lai's diplomatic trip through the Pacific, Alec McDonald spoke to Professor Jia Ian Chong from the National University of Singapore.
How do you think that President Lai was able to use a level of soft power to connect with Taiwan's partners in Palau, Tuvalu, and the Marshall Islands?
So for Lai and successive DPP governments, they've always stressed a cultural aspect as well as a democratic aspect of the relationship. I suppose in particular, Taiwan and its Aboriginal peoples have a cultural connection with the peoples of the Pacific. So that was something that was stressed. I noticed there were several sort of occasions where there were those sorts of ceremonies that seemed to suggest some of these degrees of similarity. So I think that was one aspect, but of course there is the other, I wouldn't say hard, but the other sort of more development cooperation-based elements as well. This was especially apparent in Palau, but these are all different tools for foreign policy.
Was there anything specific that stood out that Taiwan was able to accomplish during this trip?
So I think what was notable was the emphasis on capacity building, the emphasis on helping these places develop an ability to monitor the seas, which they have jurisdiction over, because these have been areas where the PRC have put a lot of pressure on these islands, and they are quite capacity constrained. So it was that sort of move was quite marked. Of course, what will be sufficient in that sort of wide, expansive ocean, I guess, remains to be seen.
How is this diplomatic trip being received by the domestic audience?
I haven't seen sort of any real criticism of it, which I suppose suggests that it is seen as pretty positive domestically. Of course, a lot of the attention domestically in Taiwan was drawn by Ma Ying-jeou's arrangement of the visit by these students from the PRC who seem to have Chinese Communist Party links and the sort of protests surrounding that. So in that regard, perhaps Lai's visit didn't have the big positive impact that he might have hoped, but at least it didn't draw a lot of the sort of negativity that might have come about. That negativity seems to have focused around former President Ma Ying-jeou's actions.
Do you believe that this was a substantive trip that set a real precedent for how Taiwan can help its allies moving forward?
I would say that it is very consistent with what Taiwan, since the Tsai administration, has been doing. It's not, I don't see it as a sort of major breakthrough, but that consistency is important. It shows that Taiwan continues to be interested in how its diplomatic partners are doing. It continues to try to put itself forward as a reliable, credible, and very helpful partner.
That was Jia Ian-chung from the National University of Singapore. 4 members of Taiwan's military police force have been indicted for espionage. They're accused of taking bribes of more than $56,000 to leak information to supporters of the Chinese Communist Party and have been charged with violating Taiwan's National Security Act. Military police often work closely with Taiwan's president. The Defense Ministry says it will work to prevent further espionage cases. The foundation that invited a group of Chinese students to Taiwan could be banned from bringing more groups from China for some time. It's in response to controversy over a comment that one of the visiting students made about Taiwan's name while on the cultural exchange trip. Cadence Karanta reports.
Kuomintang legislators and the head of former President Ma Ying-jeou's foundation objecting after the government said the foundation could be banned from inviting exchange groups to Taiwan from China for months or even years. For 9 days, a delegation of 40 Chinese students, teachers, and athletes was in Taiwan at the foundation's invitation, a trip it says was to foster cross-strait communication. But one of the Chinese students on the trip sparked backlash after she referred to Taiwan's national baseball team as China Taipei instead of its official name, Chinese Taipei.
向中国台北队获得世界冠军表示祝贺，希望就是大陆和台湾同胞可以像这个中信兄弟你们 brothers 一样。
The difference between China Taipei and Chinese Taipei is small, but could be seen to emphasize China's sovereignty claim to Taiwan, which Taiwan's government rejects. The students' remark sparked an outcry. The Mainland Affairs Council, which handles cross-strait relations, said the comment may have violated government rules and accused Ma's foundation of not dealing with the controversy properly. They said they will meet with other agencies soon to decide whether to punish the foundation. But today, the foundation's CEO called on the government not to follow through with such action.
我在这边要呼吁陆委会要高抬贵手，因为你处分马英九基金会哦，其实是会制造寒蝉效应，因为你用一个这个女同学的无心的没有恶意的一个习惯用语哦，扩大解释，上升对立。
KMT legislators also argued the students' comment actually illustrates the need for more cross-strait communication, because they may not have known their comment might cause offense. But the trip's effectiveness in promoting communication has also been in question. Some students at universities the Chinese group visited said the group didn't seem interested in genuine exchanges of views.
我们希望可以分享台湾的经验给中国，但是很遗憾的，从中国同学回避接触、快步离去的结果来看，中国的参访团其实丝毫不想与我们进行真正的交流。
Some in Taiwan were concerned about the trip in general, because most of the students on the trip are affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, prompting opponents to the visit to express concern they were coming to spread Beijing's propaganda, putting cross-strait tensions into the spotlight once again. Eason Chen and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
The leader of South Korea's ruling party says the President Yoon Suk-yeol should be suspended from office after reports that Yoon ordered the arrest of prominent politicians. As Chris Gordon reports, it's part of the continuing political crisis surrounding Yoon's declaration of martial law on Tuesday.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's support is eroding, even within his own People's Power Party. The head of the party says they'd learned that Yoon ordered the arrest of prominent politicians during his short-lived declaration of martial law.
새로이 드러나고 있는 사실 등을 감안할 때 대한민국과 국민을 지키기 위해서 윤석열 대통령의 조속한 직무 집행 정지가 필요하다고 판단합니다.
This stunning turn from Yoon's allies is the latest in the ongoing fallout from his declaration of martial law on December 3rd, which was overturned mere hours later by legislators. Protests calling for Yoon's removal continued overnight. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin canceled a planned visit to the country, citing the declaration of martial law. By morning, the streets of the country's capital were calm, but residents say something's changed.
예전에 제가 그 계엄령 선포는 좀 불가능한 일이다라고 생각했던 게 이제 더 이상 이거는 현실성이 좀 있는 일일 수도 있겠다라고 생각이 좀 많이 변한 것 같아요.
Such concerns seemed to be warranted. Later that day, a civil group said they had evidence that a second martial law declaration was coming.
복수의 육군부대 탄핵 표결 다음 날까지 지휘관 비상 소집 대기를 지시한 것으로 확인되고 있습니다.
But the country's defense ministry pushed back hard, saying they would not obey such an order.
오늘 오전 일각에서 제기된 2차 계엄 정황 주장은 전혀 사실이 아닙니다. 만약 계엄 발령에 관한 요구가 있더라도 국방부와 합동참모본부는 이를 절대 수용하지 않을 것입니다.
President Yoon has not been seen in public since his Wednesday morning announcement revoking martial law. Civilian and military prosecutors are conducting investigations into Yoon and his former defense minister. With his own party turning against him and an impeachment vote expected as soon as this weekend, President Yoon's political fate is hanging in the balance. Alex Chen and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
China is the world's largest potato producer, but climate change is threatening to devastate crop yields. Now the country's scientists are working towards preventing a global agricultural crisis. Wes Lewis has more.
This is China's potato-growing region. The high altitude of the northern provinces of Hebei and Inner Mongolia provide the ideal cool and dry climate for the crop. But climate change and shifting weather patterns are putting this all at risk.
还有就是由于雨水过大呢，所以收获的进度受到了比较大的拖累。但是现在呢，整个这个地区的收获大概只完成了1/3左右。
To better understand how climate change is impacting the crop, scientists at China's International Potato Center are conducting tests. In labs equipped with heat chambers, raising temperatures to expected global warming levels to monitor changes to crop yields. And their findings are concerning.
我觉得是令人担忧的，因为温度的变化，我现在的这个设定是3度，平均温度3度的变化，它对产量的影响，是极显著的，所以说它会显著的降低当前品种的产量。
The lab found that the temperature rise sped up the growth process, but more than halved the yield. And with China being the world's largest producer of potatoes, accounting for nearly a quarter of global production, this raises concerns for global food security. Aggravating matters, climate change has also led to the growth of new plant viruses.
一些新的更具侵略性的菌株呢开始出现了，这些菌株呢对传统的防治方法呢也是有更强的抵抗力，使得防治工作呢也是更加的困难了。
For now, scientists say farmers will have to adapt, planting in the spring instead of the summer, or moving to even higher altitudes. While in this lab, they continue to study the effects of global warming on the crop, to potentially find ways to prevent a blight on global agricultural production. Andy Xu and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Before we go, check out this new 5-pound coin honoring former Beatles member Paul McCartney that was just released in the UK. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.